I recently discovered that I really like storytelling, so I'm going to tell you a brand new, or rather, a reconsidered creation story. So imagine that in the void of space, there is what we have ever so intelligently and carefully considered and discussed and came up with the term black hole. There was a black hole, and a black hole resonated sound. And one day, the black hole's coming along, and all of a sudden, it sucks up way too much energy and becomes a quasar, pulling in energy, creating an accretion disk, and separating itself into a north, ejecting light out into the universe that it was around it, and pulling in intense amounts of energy from the south and creating the first quasar, splitting itself into dun 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 two. But this presented itself with a new problem. Duality. You see, you had a north and a south, but now you have north and south interacting here too. So you've got to fix that. You've got to balance it. Oh no, you have it up here too. But now that you've added these extra poles to compensate for that second one, now you've got to add 4 more because you've created imbalance. And you'll notice I'm trying to balance, so I'm mirroring. I'm doing the opposite of what I did the first time. And then, oop, the last one, got to mirror that last one. And then there you have it. You have the egg of life. Now, if you look at the human reproductive system, this is actually exactly how this happens. This is how this takes place. You get an over-unity of information that results in subdivision and continuous subdivision. So this is the egg of life, and you keep getting these geometric expansions of the same shape. Now, this shape is inherent to the universe, like down to the very atoms. These 8 spheres, they're like tiny, teeny, tiny bubbles representing energy, representing reflections of the universe. So if you wanted to understand, how the universe works, these are creating space around themselves, so they are relatively sized, right? Because the one at the center appears to be getting smaller and smaller and smaller as the ones on the outside are getting bigger and bigger and bigger to accommodate their own reflections. So if you were thinking the universe, and then you have these 6 dimensions, and then you have atoms. Now, atoms are like tiny reflections, they're tiny bubbles within the universe that perfectly reflect the universe, but they're so small and they're spinning so fast that the front and the back and the side and everything appears to be always facing you. Because what Einstein was describing is that c squared is spinning, and the spinning creates a linear motion, which is also the speed of light, because light itself has no mass. So as it spins around itself, it propels itself at the speed of light. Hence, all matter is E equals mc squared. So you have the constant, which is the speed of light, rotating around itself to create the illusion of particle. And then you have the linear motion, which is created like a pinwheel from the center point of rotation to give motion. So when you look at the atoms and the universe, they're actually mirror images of each other. Atoms means atomos, or that which cannot be split. It's a perfect reflection of the universe. There's nothing that you can do except for destroy it to keep it from reflecting the universe. So what's in between that? Well, you have your molecules. Atoms form together, electromagnetically binding into incredibly massive structures that are harmonically resonant with the electromagnetics of the universe. DNA binds together to create cells, cells which maintain homeostasis with the ecological universe. You have multicellular creatures, which essentially inherently have internal awareness and create harmony within themselves on the multicellular level. On the planetary level, you have the electromagnetic field, which is essentially generating and maintaining the ozone layer. As intense radiation has increased in the past, the magnetic field of the planet's core responded and reflected in kind to help maintain the atmosphere. If you look at the history of the world, you find that the Earth itself has responded to changes within the solar system that would have otherwise destroyed life on the planet. On the solar level, you have the solar system. The sun travels around a larger, massive body. As it gets closer to this particular body that we happen to be moving around in our galactic center, the resonance of the heliosphere, or the electromagnetic impulse of the sun, increases both intensity and in frequency. So it gets higher in vibration and it becomes more intense in vibration, which results in massive potential differences from an internal level. So essentially the creative forces that we wield as human beings. And then the galaxies, of course, are spinning around in the universe. So the galaxies are clusters of whole star systems, massive bodies, black holes that mirror what essentially the universe is doing to the galaxies themselves. So when you look at this, it's all tied together by electromagnetism and gyroscopic torque, because gyroscopic torque is actually responsible for the motion that we see in photons. Because they're spinning at the speed of light, they would naturally create a torque of equal force coming straight through the center according to the right-hand rule. So as it spins this way, the energy would be moving that way. It's that way everywhere in the universe. So down at the atomic level, that's where you get something that doesn't have any mass that seems to be able to travel at the speed of light, is because it's spinning at the speed of light, so it's forced to move linearly at the speed of light as well. Otherwise, it stops existing. Because when you stop its forward progress, you're actually slowing its rotational velocity, and rather than appearing to be a particle of light, disappears into nothingness. It's kind of an interesting thought. So each of those 8 dimensions resonate with the human body. So we understand this as the chakra system. So you have 8 chakras, essentially. You have your skin, which acts as an organ that serves your 8th chakra, or body heat, right? And then your body creates 7 other types of light. So if you split light through a prism, water being a prism, it divides itself into its 8 constituent frequencies: heat, red light, orange light, yellow light, green light, light blue, dark blue, and violet. So when you look at these, they all represent various frequencies, and frequencies is tied to the rotation or cycling. So essentially your body is tied to all of these cycles, because whether you're talking about atoms, they occur at a certain frame of cycling. Molecules at a certain time frame of cycling, the cellular bodies, the multicellular bodies, the planetary bodies, these solar bodies, the galactic bodies, the universal body, they all cycle at a different reference point. So like if you look at the universe, it cycles at approximately infinity. And if you look at an atom, it cycles so quickly that it never reaches a definitive conclusion, because, right, it's a little bubble, spinning way too fast for you to see the surface of it, so it just looks like light. So your body is intricately connected with the entirety of the universe. From the atoms, that's why we can understand and interact with atoms, to the universe, which is why we have astronomy and astrophysics, to everything in between, which is why we have the various branches of science. The only reason why we can grasp these things and ask these questions is because we're connected to these things. And because we're connected to these things, we want to understand how and why, and what that empowers us to do. And I guess that's really what this little sharing is all about, is that you're connected to the universe. You always were, and you always will be.